Oh my gosh, where do I start? First of all, I need to get more comfortable. 1 second. Sorry, I need to get more comfy. And obviously, I need a blanket over me, of course, because blankets are life. If you don't mind me asking what's happened with the brain injury, no, basically, sorry. You always forget when you go and relive and talk about things, it can be quite emotional. Do you know what I mean? Yes, it was in 2014, February 2014, and I was working actually at Great Ormond Street at the time. I was a volunteer and then I became a healthcare assistant on Squirrel Ward, and then I got too unwell to carry on, which was really hard because I was going to go on there to do my nursing degree in paediatric nursing, and my whole dream shattered. But anyway, that's another story if you want to hear that. But anyway, yes, I came back from work early because I wasn't feeling very well, and I had a virus. And when obviously you work in Great Ormond Street with most vulnerable kids, any viruses or infections, you can't be on shift on the wards. So I went home. I got sent home, and I was living in a flat with stairs at that time. Stupid thought. Who thought of getting flat with stairs? But at the time, I wasn't too bad. I could manage just about. I could still walk at this time, not great, but manageable. And I came back and I was not very well, and I slept, and I had a beanbag for a sofa at the time because that was 19-year-old me. And I had a glass table in my kitchen, and I managed to fall asleep in the beanbag. And sorry, I was in the beanbag. I was in the beanbag. The glass table was in the lounge. Brain fog, Ruth. And then I fell asleep in the beanbag. Basically, short story is I then woke up in a daze and whacked my head on the glass table, and then passed out straight away. And then I woke up and I rang my friend and I was like, I don't feel very well. I've hit my head. I'm sure I'm fine, but could you just come around and be around to check on me just in case? Because we know you keep an eye on brains and heads and things like that. And she came around, and then I vomited, and I don't really remember the rest. I collapsed in the doorway, and then the paramedics got called, and I was being sick and blur vision and talking funny, and I got sent to A&E and for scans, and it wasn't any bleeding in the brain or anything like that, but there was a bruise coming out of my head, the back of my head. They could see on the scan bruising on the brain, basically. And then I was kept in, and it basically triggered my POTS, and my POTS got 10 times worse. I couldn't even stand up at all. My blood pressure being in the 70s, my heart rate rising. They didn't diagnose POTS at the time because they just sent me home. I said to them, I live upstairs, I'm going to keep passing out. It's not safe for me to go home. They didn't care. I got sent home, passed out in the car park. At the time, they just didn't care. We've educated them since then, that hospital. But I lost all proprioception. I eventually got admitted back into hospital over the course of a few months, and then I got sent to neuro rehabilitation for 6 months, and I tried to learn to walk again, but because of the injury, they said how much it's affected my coordination and proprioception, and even though it wasn't like bleeding on the brain or surgery, it was more than just a bad concussion. It actually kind of shook the brain, and it affected, like I said, my coordination, my proprioception, the way I process things, the kind of connections between the head and the
I'm sorry.
Oh, my phone is trying to talk to me at the same time. The connection, between brain and walking. And then you add in my POTS, then you add in my chronic pain, then you add in that every time we made progress, we ended up 5 steps back because I get one UTI and get really poorly, and then have problems with my immune system and sepsis and other problems, autoimmune disease. And yes, everything combined, it was very difficult. And I was very determined to walk again, very determined, but I couldn't. And I did manage to stand and take a few steps, and then you add in all the joint problems and the dislocations and subluxation risks, and it became extremely difficult. And I used to have really good balance, and then I don't anymore. Like the test when you close your eyes and can you stand still, I used to do really well, and then since the head injury, I can't. So I just completely, my senses are gone. That explains a bit more, I hope, about the injury to my head. It not triggered the POTS. The POTS was there, but it just made it snowball. And then I got diagnosed eventually with POTS first, and then EDS. Do you want to know more of that story? Like, story time about how I got diagnosed with POTS and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it's quite a long story, though. But yeah, that's kind of the start of... That was in 2014. That's 10 years ago. 10 years ago this year. Oh, my God. Now I'm getting brain fog trying to remember everything. There's a chance that I could be able to stand again, but to walk would... No. I had a really, really hard chat with my physiotherapist and OTs and team and neurologist and everything. But I may stand again, but walking is not a possibility. But it's very, very complicated. It's not simple. but isn't everything complicated? Who knew glass tables were so dangerous? And don't get a beanbag. And just don't put a beanbag near a glass table.